After yesterday's embarrassing defeat to the Dallas Cowboys, I've had time to sleep it off, watch the film today, and now I got 10 takeaways to share with you guys here after watching the film from that awful performance yesterday afternoon. And I'm actually coming away with a little bit more positives than I thought after watching the film this week and why the season might not be completely over here in Commanders Nation. Before we get into the content today and I share my takeaways from that Week 12 loss, go ahead and get in the comments section and let me know your panic level after losing 3 straight games, the last of which coming to the Dallas Cowboys at home. Put it on a scale of 1 to 10 for me down there in the comments section, 1 being not worried whatsoever, to 10 meaning it's DEFCON 1. I'm panicking like hell. Okay, now let's get to my first film takeaway here, which is that there's too many crucial mistakes. The Commanders had numerous opportunities to take that football game yesterday and didn't take a single one. The first one, and really maybe the most egregious, is you had 4 short fields. In just the first half alone, you scored 3 total points on those 4 short fields. Okay, you had the block kick, you had the blocked punt, you had a fumble, and then you had an interception that you then fumbled from Noah Igbenogany. Absolutely unacceptable stuff in the first half for the Washington Commanders. That game could have been 30-0 to start the game. All right? And instead, you just keep piling on the mistakes. If we can go back to that listicle there, producer Coop. That was just the beginning of the bad mistakes for this team. Then John Bates fumbles on your side of the field in the second half, giving them an opportunity to put the game away, or pretty much put the game away, go up 2 scores. And then in the special teams department, 2 special teams touchdowns given up in the fourth quarter, 1 on a muffed kickoff from Kevontae Turpin. Then you give up the onside kick touchdown, which is just embarrassing. Then when it comes to the kicking game, you miss a field goal, and then you miss not 1, but 2 extra points. All right, Austin Seibert, I'm surprised you still have a jersey right now, my friend. You should be cut after that performance that you had in Week 12. The ball's not coming off your foot well, and obviously you are not healthy. So why are you out there on the field, my man? And honestly, when you combine all of the mistakes that this team made, all right, this team didn't deserve to win the football game. Plain and simply, they made too many mistakes where I could stand up here and tell you this team deserved to win that football game yesterday. They just simply did it. They had a bunch of opportunities to take it, and they didn't take a single one, so they deserved to lose. Second takeaway from the film. I actually thought Jayden Daniels was a lot better than I thought walking away from the game, right? Because they were only scoring 3 points in the first half, and things just weren't clicking, especially early on, and they were wasting opportunities. It just felt a lot worse than what it actually was when I saw it on film. All right, later in the game when he was able to really open things up and actually go through a full field progression, he was awesome. He was layering footballs. He was throwing balls down the field with touch and accuracy. Now he did have 2 open misses in this game, and that's it. He only had 2 guys that he overthrew in this game. Then other than that, he was throwing accurate passes. Guys were dropping footballs. Kliff wasn't scheming guys open, and receivers weren't getting open against man coverage, right? It really does come down and boil down to that, where Jayden Daniels' accuracy was actually a lot better in this football game, and he just wasn't able to connect on some deep shots. There were some drops in the intermediate part of the field, and it wasn't really all on Jayden. And really, both of his interceptions were kind of fluky. One of them was on a Hail Mary, and then the other one was on a screen pass where he is designed to throw it to the running back. Now, maybe it was a little bit of a money look, and maybe it wasn't the best throw to B-Rob, but he didn't see the defender that was behind Brian Robinson Jr., and he is told to throw the ball to the screen. All right, so I don't necessarily hold that one against him either, at least not fully. But you look at what Jayden Daniels was able to do with his legs as well and what he contributed on that portion of the football game. He was awesome with his legs, man. Design quarterback runs. Kliff, to his credit, put some very nice, cool stuff in there with the quarterback run game, and then off script when he was escaping the pocket. He had some big-time runs, specifically on some weighty downs on third down specifically, where he was really doing a good job getting out there, using his legs, and being a net positive for the Washington Commanders offense. In my opinion, the Washington Commanders struggles on offense yesterday have more to do with the offensive line not winning the line of scrimmage, leading to negative or slight positive runs, and then Kliff Kingsbury constantly throwing quick screen passes on first and second down, and then pairing that with a run, putting the Commanders' offense in either 3rd and 6 or longer which is a very difficult position to put your rookie QB in when the defense essentially knows he has to throw the football on third down. So I do blame Kliff Kingsbury more than I blame Jayden Daniels, more than I blame the offensive personnel, even though the execution on offense is certainly on the players as well. It's not just Kliff Kingsbury's fault. It's a wholesome kind of equation here, but Kliff is certainly playing his part, not putting this team in the best positions to succeed because defenses understand he's going to throw a screen pass on first down or run the football. So they're playing extremely aggressively, and then Kliff is not making adjustments, and he needs to if he's going to have success down the stretch here. So let me know down there in the comments section. Are you worried about Jayden Daniels long-term in this offense? Do you think he's a bust? Do you still believe in him long-term? Let me know what you guys are thinking down there in the comments section. Simply give me a yes or a no for today's pinned comment. YouTube's going to throw you an ad break here in just a couple of seconds. When that happens, take advantage of that time by giving me a yes or no. Another one here from a film takeaway here was that it was a rough day for the offensive line. We talked about it, man. I blamed this game more in the offensive struggles on the offensive line, not being able to protect Jayden, as well as not being able to create consistent run lanes for the running backs, as well as Kliff Kingsbury for the loss. And specifically here, I thought that, Andrew Wiley had a very difficult day when it comes to this one. Nick Allegretti also lost multiple quick pressures as well and wasn't very effective in the run game. However, a bright spot was Brandon Coleman, the rookie out of TCU. Now, you guys know that I was a little bit skeptical of Brandon Coleman when he was coming out of TCU this year. He did not have a good Senior Bowl week. I know that he tested very well, and I know the Commanders really care about that stuff, but I was worried that a guy that had less than a 60.0 PFF grade in college in the Big 12 was going to be able to come into the NFL and go up against guys like Micah Parsons and play as well as he has played. Just yesterday against Dallas, 0 pressures allowed when he had a number of steps against Micah Parsons of all people, man. This guy held up. He's looking pretty darn good for a rookie, and I'm very excited to see what he's going to do the rest of this year. And then when it comes to the right tackle position, Andrew Wiley left with a concussion in the second half, and they put Trent Scott in there, and he was just absolutely abysmal. From now on, I want to see Brandon Coleman as the full-time left tackle, and then I want Cornelius Lucas in there as the starting right tackle full-time until Andrew Wiley comes back from his concussion. So coming up here on the Commanders Report, more film takeaways from the Commanders versus Cowboys game yesterday. I got 5 more to share with you guys. But before I get into those, let's have a word from our sponsor here at Fanatics. And you guys can get a brand new Jayden Daniels jersey for yourself or someone you love for this Christmas season when you go to chatsports.com/Daniels. You use that link and you make a purchase. Fanatics is going to send us part of the proceeds. So if you guys want to tip us a little bit, give us a little Christmas present here while also giving yourself a little Christmas present with a new Jayden Daniels jersey, go to chatsports.com/Daniels to get number 5's jersey in your closet today. All right, here we go. Wide receivers just aren't good enough right now for the Washington Commanders, all right? And I was somebody saying, hey, the offense is doing great. You don't need to trade for a receiver at the deadline. But right now, Terry McLaurin is the only guy in this wide receiver room that is consistently able to beat man coverage. And he's getting doubled for most of those reps, all right? Like teams are just saying, Terry's the only guy that can beat us in man, so we're going to double him. And then you got Noah Brown, Luke McCaffrey, De'Ami Brown, Olamide Zaccheaus. No one is afraid of those 4 receivers. Now, when defenses were playing more zone coverage against Jayden Daniels earlier in the season, Noah Brown could find open passing lanes. Same thing with Luke McCaffrey. Same thing with De'Ami Brown. But now that since the Steelers game, when the Steelers played more man coverage and they blitzed Jayden more often, now everybody is playing that particular defense against the Commanders' offense, and Noah Brown, Luke McCaffrey, and the like can't get open. So in hindsight here, Adam Peters probably could have gotten a different wide receiver and added another guy at the trade deadline, whether that be Darius Slayton or somebody else. There's other guys that were available that ended up not getting traded that I think could have really helped the Washington Commanders. And at the time, I was wrong. I said you don't need to add another receiver. I was wrong about that with the new kind of renaissance here in terms of how defenses are attacking the Commanders. Could have really been nice to have another separator in this room. And somebody else is going to have to step up now. You can't trade for guys. There's really no one available in free agency, whether it's Luke McCaffrey, whether it's De'Ami Brown, whether it's Zaccheaus, whether it's Noah Brown. Somebody's got to step up and separate against man coverage and be a reliable hands receiver as well. Another takeaway here, shifting to the defensive side of the ball, here's the pass rush needs to be better. All right, you got a guy in Cooper Rush for the Dallas Cowboys who is an absolute statue in the pocket. How many times did the Commanders pressure him yesterday? Just 4 times. That is unacceptable, especially going up against the Dallas Cowboys offensive line that was missing both of their starting guards. All right? Zach Martin and Tyler Smith are very good players. Missing those guys is huge for their offensive line. And guys in the middle, guys on the edge just weren't consistently getting to Cooper Rush fast enough, and that needs to change if this team is going to turn it around to finish the season. Another thing, Noah Igbinoghene. We talked about him earlier, fumbling after a huge interception. I mean, he completely dropped the ball, and it wasn't just that fumble, guys. He had 2 huge defensive pass interference calls on him in this game as well, and he just wasn't very good. I mean, he was even playing so bad that they ended up turning to Michael Davis, of all people, to see if he was any better, and lo and behold, Michael Davis was even worse than Noah Igbinoghene, especially in coverage and especially as a tackle. Keep Michael Davis's ass on the bench or cut him. He stinks, all right? He is just as bad, if not worse, than Emmanuel Forbes. Okay, Noah Igbinoghene's not great, but at least he tries his darndest, okay? And that's why you need Marshawn Lattimore back, guys. You really, really need Marshawn Lattimore back in this defense. Benjamin St-Juste isn't great, but at least he can be a number 2 corner instead of pretty much a number 1 corner in this defense. Mike Sainristil, who is your current number 1 on the outside, can go back into the slot where he is more comfortable and he can be more of a game-changing presence. Marshawn Lattimore, goodness gracious, my man, I know that you're still hurt, but please, please, please get better soon. This defense needs you. Final takeaway of the day is that it was a tough day for Jeremy Chinn. He was the one with the busted coverage in Tampa 2 there against, I believe it was CD. I can't remember who it was who caught the final touchdown there for Dallas, but it was towards the end there. It was after the fumble, and it made it a 2-possession game in the 4th quarter. And, Jeremy Chinn had multiple coverage busts yesterday. He didn't make any high-level plays. We've seen some very good games from Jeremy Chinn this year. It just wasn't one of them yesterday afternoon. So coming up next year on the Commanders Report, the 2024 playoff and season outlook for your Washington Commanders. We'll take a look at the NFC playoff picture right now, where the Commanders stand, and then we'll go over where this team and this offense and defense stand in terms of the team stat rankings. Before we get into that, make sure you click that subscribe button. We got free and informative content on the Washington Commanders right here on the Commanders Report every single day. We are the fastest growing Commanders channel right here on YouTube, and that is for a reason, and that reason is because we know ball here at the Commanders Report. Make sure you click that subscribe button if you haven't already, and I greatly appreciate your support. Now let's take a look at the NFC playoff picture right now, and as it stands now, the Commanders still hold on to that number 7 spot in the wild card race. Arizona is right behind them at 6-5. Tampa Bay, LA, and San Francisco are still very much in the hunt. Then the teams 4-7 and below probably out of it at this point. So right now, man, there's a little cluster of teams that could potentially make it, and the Commanders right now are leading that bunch. I think we all pretty much know the Vikings and Packers will probably make the playoffs this year. The question is, who's going to get that number 7 spot in the NFC? And I think that the Commanders have a very good chance of getting that number 7 spot and maybe even that number 6 spot. You take a look at the offensive stats and rankings for the offense. Despite the struggles that this offense has gone through, guys, over the last 3 games when the Steelers kind of cracked the code on the Kliff Kingsbury offense here in Washington, they're still ranking top 5 in points per game and top 10 in just about every single offensive category you can find here. They're top 10 in every single category on your screen right now. They don't turn the ball over. They do move the football effectively. They just need to make a couple of adjustments here, which might be a little bit too much for Kliff Kingsbury to ask, but this is still a team with a lot of potential. Then you look at the defensive side of the ball here, guys, and it's less great, right? 18th in points per game. Their points per game allowed has really dipped in terms of the rankings over the last several weeks as they've given up more and more and more points. I mean, these numbers show exactly why you need Marshawn Lattimore to get back in the lineup as soon as possible, hopefully for this Week 13 matchup versus the Tennessee Titans. Now, to get to 10 wins and essentially lock up a playoff spot in the NFC this year, you need to win 3 of your final 5 games, all right? And if you win 2 of them and you get to 9 wins, you'll certainly have a shot to be the number 7 seed in the NFC this year. But you look at the Titans game, that's winnable, but Will Levis is playing really good football, and their defense is starting to turn around. The Saints have turned things around since firing Dennis Allen. The Eagles, that's pretty much a guaranteed loss in my mind right now. The Falcons is an interesting one because it's a dome team heading to Landover. I think the Commanders can probably win that one, actually. And then the Cowboys on the road in a game that I hope the Commanders take advantage of more opportunities than they did last week. All right, so you need 3 of those wins. I think it's still very possible that they make the playoffs. And in fact, if I'd have to predict it right now, I think the Commanders do get the 7th seed in the NFC. But honestly, at this point, man, I can't say I feel good or guarantee that the Commanders make the playoffs after a 7-2 start with the way that this offense is playing right now, with the way this defense is playing right now. There's a lot of question marks surrounding this Washington Commanders team. They got enough talent to get it done here, but the question of will Dan Quinn in this locker room kind of show their resiliency here is definitely still up in the air. And I do think that their title hopes and the dreams of Jayden Daniels being the first rookie quarterback to lead his team to a Super Bowl championship are officially dead. All right, this is not a special football team whatsoever. They showed some very special sparks at the beginning of the year with that 7-2 start. But, right now they're a Hail Mary away from being 6-6, guys. That's not a special football team. Like I said, you only got one special pass catcher in Terry McLaurin. The run game has certainly regressed. The offensive line has regressed as the season has gone on. The offensive coordinator hasn't made an adjustment since defenses have figured out his offense. And, it's just a downward spiral right now where even though I think they're going to make the playoffs this year, I think it's going to end most likely in the first round of the playoffs. So let me know down there in the comments section if you are a real one, if you made it to the end of today's show. I know it's a little bit of a longer one today, but that's why you're a real one and you made it to the end of the show. So make sure you type those real ones in all caps down there in the comments section to let me know you made it to the end of today's show. And until next time, guys, hail to the Commanders.